All right, let's get a modcast going on a Tuesday. Hope you guys are having a great week. We got a national champion now. Indiana did finish it off last night as we speak to you on a Tuesday, and we're going to talk about one of those national champions today. Before we do, let's give our sponsor some big credit, and that is Daily and Black. They bring you the modcast each and every week. If you need help on the law side of things, if you need some lawyers that are going to do right by you, these are the ones to check out. DALY, Daily and Black. They bring you the modcast each and every week. We've got Jason Sukamel. We've got Alex Dunlap, who is a Westlake grad. I feel like that's going to be important for this discussion. And I will admit, at the beginning of this discussion, I'm making it up as I go along. But yesterday, fellas, I'm looking at offensive linemen. We know what Texas needs. They need a starting guard, specifically a left guard for 2026. And I'm just looking at different guys, and I thought, hey, you know what? Let me peek at Indiana and Miami. So I go look, and I'm like, wait a second. Hold on. One of the starting guards for Indiana went to Westlake, and I thought, okay, let's check into this. Was he any good at Westlake? Back-to-back state champs. That'll make Alex smile. And then he goes to Indiana, and I got like 30 starts, somewhere in that range, 29, I think, if you count last night. And he's a national champion. And, you know, fellas, I'm just asking, like, some people want to go home again. And I'm just wondering if this is a guy. I certainly don't know if he's interested in the portal. But, Jason, we live in a world where I think a team can check into that kind of interest if they wanted to. But Bray Lynch is his name, big 74 for Indiana. And I don't know. It just feels too easy to me that this could be a question for Texas. Is this a name that was even on your radar before you watched Indiana this year? Because I didn't remember the name.
No, but sign him up. End of show. No, Texas never recruited him. So honestly, when his name, I've seen his name pop up on the message boards, and then we discussed it briefly this morning, and I had to kind of read up on him. I didn't even know he was from Westlake until I guess I'd read that on the board, but yeah. 37, I'm looking at his stats, 37 games, looks like 29 starts, like you said, counting last night's game. This dude, that's a really good, I haven't sit here and watched the Wisconsin Indiana offensive line very closely, but, or individually anyways, but that's a good offensive line. So if Bray Lynch is a part of an offensive line like that, then he's probably good enough to start at Texas. So, and like you said, we're talking about this, the pieces make sense, right? He's from Westlake. Texas has a need. Does he want to come home? But we don't know. He may be like, I have no interest. And, I'm happy at Indiana. I just won a national championship. So if he's interested, yeah, Texas, even if he's not interested, Texas should be putting out feelers to kick the tires and talk to his representation and say, hey, if you'd like to come back home, we'd love to have a conversation with you. You try to make him interested, even if he's not. And maybe Texas has to initiate those conversations. I don't know that he's a guy that's just going to jump in the portal, but if you can initiate those conversations and coax him into the portal, it would sure make a lot of sense for Texas.
Yeah, Alex, 6'5", 312 is how Indiana lists him. Bray Lynch, is it a name that was on your radar at all as you watched Indiana this year? Is that a name you remember from his days at Westlake?
A little bit. I think though, it's been more front of mind as we've been sort of assessing what's going on in the portal and talking. Obviously, as you whittle it down to the number of teams in the playoff, you start just looking at these teams. You start thinking, well, gosh, if they're playing for national championships right now, it isn't like you could sell them at Texas on the idea of, hey, come to Texas and win a national championship. You know what I mean? Like they're, these guys who, as we've gotten down to 8 teams and 4 teams and then 2 teams, you kind of look at the landscape and see who might get in after one of these teams loses. We went through the whole thing with, Ole Miss and looking at their offensive line and all the rest. So there was a little bit of an elevated focus on maybe some of the Indiana guys. And I think what made it kind of an easier thing to focus on is that Indiana brought in the Wisconsin kid, right? Joe Brunner. And so if you look at it, it's funny. Like I've been watching it. I'm actually these last 2 days, I've been doing work, getting ready for the Senior Bowl, watching film from all the Senior Bowl runners, because that's coming up next week. And just this morning, actually, I was watching Roman Hemby number one, the running back for Indiana.
Yeah.
And so I was getting a good look at the offensive line too. I think that so Bray Lynch is the right guard, number 74.
Correct.
They have a really good. I think the left guard, Drew Evans, is better. I think he's a better player. And obviously Pat Coogan, we're all aware of him, the transfer from Notre Dame. Was that Notre Dame he transferred from last year?
Yep, that's correct. And Evans, by the way, is a Wisconsin transfer. He transferred from Wisconsin to Indiana, just like Bruner did.
So we know that Coogan is going to be gone at center because he's out of eligibility. So if they bring in Brunner, like some of the word that we're hearing is that they might be having to talk to Bray about moving him to center because Drew Evans is coming off a 2024 like torn patellar tendon, something like that. And I don't think, if you read any draft stuff, all anybody talks about him is a 2027 prospect, even though he would technically be eligible after this year. So if you have the two guards coming in, the one thing Texas might be able to say is like, look, man, like we need a guard. And it doesn't need, like you said, specifically left guard. I'm not convinced that it's got to be right or left. So I mean,
that's true.
I think Brandon Baker, like ideally, I would rather move Baker to left guard. The question would be, he's played on the right side of the line this whole time. Do you want to move him to guard and flip his side of the line and stuff like that? So right. I think that left, that's where I have him pegged for. That's where I have, Sikorsky pegged for right now. But Sikorsky does weigh 335 pounds or whatever. And I think technically it might be a little bit better fit at right guard. But all that stuff is stuff that we can talk about. So I don't think the right left matters. I just think playing guard might matter to him. He might not want to play center. I think that's the pitch. It's come home. It's we'll pay more money. It's
right. Match whatever they're going to do.
I don't think it can come here to play for a national championship. I just got an email this morning from one of these these sports books. I'm not sure if you guys get these emails, but from the different sports books where they kind of tell you that the odds have been updated for national championships next season, like the way too early lines or the way too early Heisman lines. Which, by the way, Arch Manning is a runaway favorite for the Heisman.
Oh my gosh. I kind of figured he would be, but it's still weird to hear it for a second year in a row.
But I was going to say, as far as the CFP title for last year, I'm trying to bring it up. The guy's name who sends is Jimmy Shapiro. He sent it this morning, and Texas is in first place at 6-1. Then it's Ohio State at 13-2, and then it's Indiana and Notre Dame tied at 7-1. So it's like it's kind of hard to sell the guy that just was just seeing the confetti fall around him come down to Texas and win a natty. I think come down to Texas. Wait.
You're saying it's hard to sell him on that? You just told me Vegas is saying Texas is the favorite.
Yeah, but he just won. 6-1 versus 7-1.
Well, right. He just won, but let's be realistic about it. I know the little brother might be good, but the Heisman badass quarterback that he just blocked for.
The little brother's going in the portal too.
Yeah,
is that right?
He's one of the portal because they brought in Josh Hoover. So they're going to reload a quarterback.
Isn't the argument pretty simple? Like you're never going to have to buy a drink in Bloomington again. You're a part of that legendary team, but trying to do it again is going to be damn tough. You go home, you play for Texas, you get to play with Arch Manning and the talent that they've got, and they're a favorite for the Heisman again and a national title again and all that. I mean,
well, yeah, but
it probably just, if we're being honest, man, the guy's got 1 year of eligibility left. He just won a championship. He's been there. He's a redshirt junior, so he's been there for 4 years, I believe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
At this point, it probably just comes down to you're going to have to outbid Indiana. I mean, if we're being honest about it. Right. I mean, you can sell the coming home, but he's going to be like, you know what? Show me the money, dude.
Outbid Mr. Cuban. Outbid Mr. Cuban.
Yeah. And I was looking at his, for those interested, like he was a 3-star prospect coming out of Westlake in high school. The number 65. Number 95 offensive tackle. number 149 in Texas.
The epitome of one of those bronze guys that catch him says just don't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Oklahoma State, Duke, TCU, those were kind of the other competitors before he committed and signed with Indiana. So it wasn't like he had the big boys of big boys beating down his door. It's just that's a heck of an evaluation by Indiana.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just wonder at this point. And like you said, Jason, it may not matter to him at all, but after all that he's been through, would it matter? Does the family still live in Austin? I don't even know. I don't know where the family lives, but would it matter to him if Texas called? That's the thing that pops in my head when I saw, oh, hey, the guy's from Westlake. Interesting. So we'll see. If you guys want to throw something in the chat or give us a super chat, we will get to it. Obviously, Texas trying to find one more thing in the portal, which is rounding out. The Indiana and Miami guys have until Saturday to get into the portal. And then we still have a couple guys here and there getting into the portal because of the 48-hour rule. The school has 48 hours to get a guy into the portal. But maybe if you told them late Friday and then we had a holiday Monday, maybe they just are getting it in now, or maybe we'll even see it tomorrow, on Wednesday. So the portal is rounding out. ATX Bates, I see that super chat. We will get to it after I thank one of our great partners, and they are one I do love, and that is Sinus and Snoring Specialist. You guys have heard me talk about sinus and snoring a lot. And when it comes to sleeping, sometimes it's big things, sometimes it's little things. Yes, you can change little things like the pillow or the position or your bed or whatever. But if you got big stuff going on in your head, sinuses and allergies and the snoring and sleep apnea, until you get that stuff fixed, you're really not addressing the bigger issue. If you've had those bigger issues, this is the place that can help you out, just like they did for me. I did it back in 2017. So I'm going on 9 years almost since I went in there the first time, talked to them, found out what they're all about, and got some things done. They have surgical and non-surgical procedures that others don't have. Check them out. 601-0303. Securely call them or text them there, or go to sinussnoringent.com. Feel clear, rested, and healthy with Sinus and Snoring Specialists. Tell them that you heard about it here on Orange Bloods Live. We would appreciate it. And we always appreciate it when you guys throw us some chats. We've got this one on the offensive line front from ATX Bates, $5. With all the talk about Flood's lack of recruiting since the 22 class, buy or sell, you'd rather get the Indiana offensive line coach via the portal than the Indiana guard. Goodness, did anybody ever think that was a buy or sell?
Hey, man, the guy did a great job this year, but
yeah,
can he count on getting 3-star Bray Lynches and developing? Maybe that's a routine for him. I don't know, or maybe he got a little bit lucky with some of these guys this year. So.
I mean, I've become a contrarian on Kyle Flood. I think I still I go to CoachTube. I look at my account there. I have all of his seminars and coaching clinics and stuff. I think he's a wonderful offensive line coach. I don't think that. I mean, he's the best I've seen since I've been covering Texas. I mean, dating back to 2013. I'm not sure what that means. I think it'd be him or Stacy Searles. Is the best I've seen at Texas, and I don't, I think that the thing that frustrates you the most, and the thing that frustrates me the most, is it seems so unlike him that what happened last year during the transfer portal period, that he didn't that was the one time where I'm like, man, is all right. So this guy's actually, I've held him in such high regard. I was like, well, this is the one time I've seen the guy where I look at him as immortal that made a terrible mistake, right? Like, and so yeah, you have to hold him accountable for looking at last year and not being able to identify that. Yeah, we can't go into a season where it's like there's a possibility that Connor Stroh could be our starter at left guard. There's no way we can go into next season like that. That was clear to the eyes. That was an egregious miscalculation on his part, and I think he deserves criticism for it. But I don't think all in all, I would be switching him out wholesale. I think if he, the question would be is, do you think he's a bad recruiter? Right. Do you think he's a bad judge of what he has on the roster? If you said that he was, I couldn't argue too much back with you, because you mentioned, out of since the 2022 class, what has Brandon Baker been the biggest, there's kind of the best player that they brought in that we all viewed as sort of a can't miss? I'm trying to think. You know, I mean, with the 2023 class, you look at it and they got a hit on Gooseby, but we looked at that class and we said at the time, man, these guys, like a bunch of these guys can't play. This whole large humans thing is stupid. You know what I mean? Like these guys can't move. This is dumb. But it's like, hey, trust Flood. 2024, you get Brandon Baker, and then we've seen what the 2025 guys have looked like, at least some of them, and some of them are now gone. And I think if you were to say, no, he's a bad recruiter, he doesn't, he's terrible at evaluating what he has on the roster and identifying what his needs are, and you're basing that based on what happened after last season, I can't argue with you, but I still think he's a really good coach. So I would say I wouldn't trade him for, I don't know the Indiana O-line coach from Adam. So I'd have to look into it. I'd have to look into that a little bit, but I think I'd rather have Coach Flood and the guard.
But the question to me, fellas, off of that then would be, let's say Texas does not add another guy in the portal. They don't add somebody that just feels like an obvious left guard. Let's just stay with that position. Do you trust Kyle Flood to develop a left guard that will be serviceable against Ohio State? Isn't that kind of where we are?
Well, I mean, if it's Dylan Sikorsky, I think he's got his work cut out for him based on the film that I've seen.
Right.
Yeah.
What if it's a guy that's already on his roster? Is there anybody who's in that competition with Sikorsky?
So
Chapman?
Yeah, but I mean, if you think about this spring, if Trevor Gooseby misses time, does Chapman come into play at left tackle? Or is Kojo the swing tackle who they put over there? Because people have talked about, well, let's put Baker at left tackle. I'm like, well, you can't put Baker at left tackle if you're moving him to guard for the fall. He needs all the spring reps at guard that he can possibly get. So yeah, it would be Sikorsky, and then the only other, since Jackson Christian has moved to center, the only other options you would have would be, all right, if Kojo is back perfectly healthy, you could have him. I think he would be your swing tackle if perfectly healthy, backing up Gooseby and Siani if one of those guys were to get hurt. So if you would have, Gooseby / Kojo at the left tackle, and you wouldn't need Chapman at the tackle there, right? Because then probably Sikorsky versus Chapman, or you could say, I mean, look, man, I don't think Nick Robertson's going to come in ready to compete. I maybe Jason has a better idea than me. I know he had a good week at Under Armour, but I'm like,
he's pretty good. I mean, he's cleaned up his body a little bit, but I mean, he's good.
And then from what I've seen of Jonte Newman, there's no way he's going to come in and compete. So
that's what's scary about this whole conversation, Alex, is we're having to okay, let's move this guy, and we're trying to find these scenarios. Like, there's just not enough depth. I'm almost okay with the starting five, if Sikorsky's manageable, but the lack of depth is what's really frightening. I mean, God forbid if somebody gets hurt and misses multiple weeks in season.
Yeah.
What puzzle piece can we try to fit in here? I mean, that's what's frightening.
And that's why with Bray, you would say, okay, all right, he comes in, he comes in and starts, and the offensive line across the five is good. There's not the question about Sikorsky. Sikorsky's becomes sort of your swing interior guard.
Yeah. Right.
And then so that feels better than saying, all right, he's a locked in starter. But even if he does come in and he's the projected starter, which as of right now he would be, and I think Sark sort of views him as the sort of, if not at the very least, a solid placeholder at one of those interior spots, right? And so I think if they can't get the Indiana kid, it's like you can't bring it back home to Austin. They still got to go. At this point, dude, I don't even care if it's the kid from the Cody and I watched on our show from Riverside Community College that looks like a hellraiser at that level, right? A JUCO kid, some kind of monster with all kinds of traits who could come in, throw a wild card into the bunch, man. Just if you're just bringing in depth anyway, right? There's still 6,000 of these players in the portal. Most of them are from FCS schools. You got to put on the old reading glasses, man, and start going through this list and going and watching some film and just saying all right, well, this guy's got some, this guy's got some BS to him, man. Look at we need to take a deeper look at this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that they still, if it were up to me, they'd bring in 2 or 3 more of them. I'm not sure if that's their MO right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. By the way, how about Kelly doing some research and a super chat? Kelly, thank you for the $4.99. Colleen Lynch in the Austin area on LinkedIn, a teacher at Andrews. I don't see. There you go. Kelly's doing some work.
Kelly wanted everybody to know that he was doing some stalking on this one.
The Lynch family might still be in Austin. See, it could be a great thing. Like Ketch and I were talking yesterday, and Ketch was trying to do this nefarious version of how you'd get Bray Lynch, and he's talking about some weird thing with a coffee shop and his family. And I'm like, no. If there's a coffee shop where like he and his family used to hang out, they could hang out there and then go to a home game together. I mean, come on. It's really easy. It's a really simple process. Jason jumping in with a 1999. The fact that Sukamel said the starting 5 is acceptable shows the failures in the portal. It was supposed to be the number one issue addressed in the portal, and we failed.
It hasn't been what I thought it would be in the portal, but you got a starting tackle.
A good one.
A good one, right. You've got I guess as
a after on effect of that, you've gotten a guard.
Right. Well, yeah, with Baker, of course.
Yeah.
Do I think they should have? Do I agree with Alex that they should get a couple more guys? Absolutely, just because the lack of depth. And if you can upgrade one of those starting positions, great, even better. But like, I'm okay with the 2 tackles that they've got. Okay. I'm okay with the guard spot. If Baker's at right guard, I'm okay with Connor Robertson at center. I think he held up pretty well this last year. The potentially left guard with Sikorsky. I don't know enough about that dude, but I mean, Texas and several other schools, Missouri and some others really wanted him. So I'm assuming he's going to be a suitable starter. So I'm okay. Listen, Jason, I'm not saying, hey, this starting 5 is going to win the Joe Moore Award. Okay. But I think it's a suitable offensive line that can work. And I think it's an offensive line that can be a part of Texas competing for championships. Now, could they have done better in the portal? Absolutely. Would they have loved to got the 2 Michigan guys? Absolutely. Do I still think they need a couple more guys out of the portal? Definitely. So, I don't know that I'd call it a failure in the portal, but it hasn't been a smashing success either.
No doubt about that. Jason, thank you for that. And as always, thanks to Specs for bringing us the chats and the super chats. Here's a little Specs for you.
Shop Specs! 60 years in the Lone Star State. A one-stop shop so you're never late. Price is so low that you want to know
Which way to Specs?
Come on, let's go.
Specs, fine spirits, and finer foods. World-class service, that's all about you. Shop Specs!
It's how we do. A huge selection since 62.
Shop Specs!
Low priced, amazing. Here's to you. Cheers to savings.
I've never seen anyone roller skate in Specs. If you're going to think about doing that, please be careful. Please be.
There's a lot of glass in Specs. So you better be a good roller skater. Yeah.
For some reason, that details never stood out to me until just then. I'm like, wait, hold on.
If you are roller skating in Specs, don't stop and partake in any of the samples from any of the nice ladies.
That's right. Do not do that. Big eyes forward, eyes 10 and 2. Whatever the 10 and 2 of roller skating is, please focus in on that. All right, we're talking about Texas in the portal today because, frankly, Texas still needs an offensive lineman. They need a guard, like Alex is talking about. Maybe just go look at a list and find a guy who started at guard anywhere. But it does just so happen that the guy who just started at right guard for Indiana is a Westlake guy and has about 30 starts. And, I'm all about a good story. So we kind of threw out the name Bray Lynch. Again, there's no information that Bray Lynch wants to be in the portal. But again, that's something that maybe Texas needs to check in on, whether it's him or somebody else they could be interested in. Alex mentioned Drew Evans, the other guard for Indiana. I was going through, Miami's roster, Matthew McCoy or Samson Okunlola, who I believe is a redshirt sophomore, 6'6", 300, a kid from Massachusetts. There's all kinds of names out there. Texas probably needs to figure one out. And Alex, to your point, even at this moment, as late as it feels, they could still add 2 or 3. They could do that if they wanted to. There's plenty of guys already in the portal. And then you've got, maybe it's Indiana or maybe it's Miami if you wanted to grab from one of those two teams, but it's not the craziest idea for them to add a couple late. They just, they have to get on it. Maybe they already are, but it's not that crazy an idea, is it?
No, I mean, and there's you still got guys for like the guy Cody and I have been talking about for like 2 months, Talik Lockett from Texas State, right?
Yeah,
That's the guy that was sending Cody DMs on X, back in during the season, saying like, "Hey, like, what do you think of my film?" All this. Now that he's gotten a little bit of notoriety, he's telling Cody that if he wants any answers now, he can talk to his agent and stuff. But
yeah,
but that's
well done, young man.
Yeah, but that's a guy who that's a guy who we've looked at who can play. I mean, Chad, like I'm sure if I'm doing this, the coaching staff is doing this. Like I was watching the kid, the right tackle from Ouachita State versus Henderson State the other day, right? I was watching, like I said, the Riverside Community College film for their left tackle. That's just a hellraiser. It's just hard to tell at that level when you talk about not just FCS, but you start talking D2 and JUCO. It's like I told Cody on our shows where we talked about it, like that Ouachita State Henderson State game. Like those were the kind of colleges that were giving me scholarship offers out of high school, right? And so I just think about them like these offensive linemen are going against defensive ends with like my high school pedigree. Like I would have gotten murdered by these guys. And so it's hard to, line up a guy 335 pounds against me 1 year out of high school. I'm going to be toast the same way all these guys are. So it's hard to know when you watch this film, whether it would translate at the SEC level. But the fact of the matter is I think you got to go out hunting traits, just looking at these guys. If finding, if going into like the University of Buffalo and finding a Khalil Mack or something like that was super easy, everybody would be able to do it every single year. You know what I mean? If you were able to go and find Alex Kappa at Humboldt State a few years ago and bring him into your program, right? Everybody would be doing it. And you're seeing it more and more often now, I guess, with, you see the Arizona States of the world. They go and they find a Camp Scattaboo from wherever he was at. And play. But there are players like that to where you can look, and if you're good at evaluation, you can say, look, I understand that the level of competition is lower, but I do see the traits there. I could coach them up. Are you telling? I mean, it's gonna be a needle in the haystack. I get it, but what I'm saying is that like the haystack currently exists.
Yeah,
there are needles in that haystack, and the haystack's right there. It's a matter of going through and finding it. How much effort you want to put into that? I think it's worthy of they're not doing much else right now. It's kind of their job.
Yeah, they get paid handsomely to go dig through that haystack. So get to work. Yeah,
they do. $5 from Astro Horn on the super chat. Thank you, Astro Horn 1. We don't have to have 5 All-Americans on the offensive line to win a natty. We just can't. I'm assuming that's have a Nick Brooks catastrophe. I
tend to agree with Astro Horn. Everybody wants 5 Cam Colemans, and that's not what the portal gets you. I mean, you're lucky if you get 1 Cam Coleman out of the portal, but if you can find serviceable players, surround them with good players like Gooseby, like Baker, like the offensive, what's his name? The right tackle, Alex Siani. Yeah, like that. I mean, you don't have to have 5 all-conference players along. I mean, don't get me wrong, it'd be a dream come true, but I think people need to have realistic expectations also.
But
yeah.
Jason, I think a realistic expectation is that behind a questionable projected starter like Sikorsky, you need somebody. You need more depth.
Listen, I agree. That's why I said they need to go find 2 or 3 more, probably. So.
Yeah. No doubt. Melvin Siani, by the way. Not enough Melvins anymore. Good old school name.
My nickname growing up, I don't know how it stuck, but my friends all called me Melvin Pinochle. True story.
How?
I don't know.
Do we want to know why that is true?
I don't even know. Like my sister-in-law still calls me Melvin. It was like back when I was like skateboarding days and like middle school. Like Dude, I had so many nicknames. Soups.
Have you known your wife since middle school?
No, my sister-in-law. I didn't know my sister-in-law went middle school, but somehow she heard the Melvin Pinochle story. Now she still calls me Melvin.
Wow. Now, it does sound like a cool skateboarding move. Like maybe was that the skateboarding move
Dude,
that you
I
had
don't even,
was the
I
Melvin
have no
Pinochle?
idea. I don't know who. Put it this way, one of my best friends, we still call him Moonrock. So his name is Chris Smith, and if someone calls him Chris, I'm like, who the hell's Chris? No, that's Moonrock. So yeah,
That guy used to play in the old fantasy league, didn't he?
Moonrock. Yeah, he sure did. Damn, man, that's good memory.
Is
Yeah,
it? Well, it's kind of hard to forget a name like Moonrock.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Man, Moonrock and Melvin Pinochle need to have a podcast. I don't know. We need to get those two a show here on Orange Bloods Live. That just sounds like the right idea. Eddie, I see the super chat, and it is never too early for that super chat. I will get right to it and see what the guys have to say about it after I tell you about AV consultations. It's that time of year when you realize football season's coming to an end. Championship games coming up in the NFL, Super Bowl, but there's so much TV to watch. You got all the stuff streaming. Hell, my wife just said to me, why don't we get into Yellowstone? And I thought, you know what? We never did. Let's do it. Make sure you're watching everything on the biggest, best screen you can. If you need a bigger screen, if you need that movie setup you've always wanted, this is the place. 255-8678. Maybe it's your idea to have it ready for the 26th season when Texas hosts Ohio State with Arch Manning. Get it set up. Call 255-8678 or go to avconsultations.com. Tell them you heard about it here on Orange Bloods Live and get that dream set up that you have always wanted. They can make it come true. They've been doing it since 1988. All right. I love that this came in. It's never too early, but he did spend $199. So, hey, what do you think the record's going to be this year, fellas? Come on, Eddie.
It's still weird to me to say this year, but it is this year. We're in 2020. To me, it's still next year, but I guess that is this year. Technically,
it is this year. I'll start at the baseline, and I'll say 9-3 again. How about that, Eddie? I'll start at 9-3 with a 9-game.
Going there, huh?
Let's start.
I'm going to be honest, Chad. I'm kind of dabbling right around there. I mean, look, I'm looking at the schedule. I pulled it up. Texas State win. Ohio State in DKR, I get it, but can you give Texas the benefit of Ohio State? I don't know. UTSA win. Tennessee in Knoxville is not going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma's going to be good. They're getting. Why did I think Mateer was out of eligibility? He's coming back, right?
Yeah, he's coming back.
I don't know why I thought all year that he was out of eligibility. Oklahoma's going to be good. Florida, you should win at DKR. Ole Miss, you should win at DKR. Mississippi State, 3 in a row. DKR should be a win. At Missouri won't be an easy game. Then you go at LSU. Then you get Arkansas at home, at Texas A&M. Man, this schedule is brutal, guys. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and go 10-2.
Okay,
Chad, I don't hate on 9-3. I think a lot of people will push back and people will say, no, this is the number one team in the country, as Alex said, with the preseason expectations, Heisman favorite.
I mean, number one odds via the sports.
Right, number one odds. And I don't know that they'll be ranked number one. I bet, but they'll probably be top 3, I'm guessing. But I don't know, man. That schedule, and I need to. Hey, you got to prove it to me. You got to prove it to me. I know Cam Coleman's here. Blah blah blah. I'm going to go 10-2, but I'm not going to push back on Chad's 9-3 one bit.
Yeah. Plus, Eddie, I am trying to help you and all the fans out because it does seem that when I don't believe in Texas, Texas proves me wrong because I picked them to beat. I picked OU. I picked OU, A&M, and Vanderbilt all to beat Texas, if I'm not mistaken, last year. I think I did. Maybe I picked them to beat OU, but I think I picked Vanderbilt and A&M to beat them. So there you go.
They've been greasing the skids to turn this playoff to 16 games. Is that possible this year, or does that need to be like the year after this?
No, it's possible. They just got to, Alex, they have to do it in 3 days. They have till the 23rd to make that move. And they had a meeting on Sunday. I didn't hear anything.
All this talk about 24 games is greasing the skids. Just find the spot in the middle at 16 and just end it there. I think they're going to probably do it. They have 3 days to do this.
Yes, they have their deadline to change something is the 23rd. What they've agreed to is a 12-team playoff moving forward with those 2 new rules about Notre Dame's got to get in and then they're only going to go with one.
Why does Notre Dame get?
You know why? Come on.
Oh,
You know
I honestly don't. If I
They are-
were Texas or Ohio State or something, I would go tell them the same thing.
Yeah, they're a special circumstance, man. They have been for so long throughout our lives. There's been special rules put in place for Notre Dame. They are, they're an independent monster, and they get special deals. I mean, that agreement they have with the ACC. Nobody else has that. They have they're in the ACC in every sport except football.
So
And
they have that special. And what's the other change?
Well, next year it's going to be as long as they're ranked in the top 12 by the committee, they're in. Period.
And what's the other one?
That gives them a spot. I'm just saying.
You said there's two things.
No. Like throughout our lives, there have been little things where they would get in the BCS if they.
No. I don't mean
like
specific to Notre Dame. I mean specific to any possible changes on the board for the season.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. And then next year, there's only one G6 champ that'll get in because next year it is stated clearly that the SEC champ, Big 10 champ, Big 12 champ, and what I leave out? ACC? Did I say it?
Yeah.
Big 10, SEC, whichever one I left out.
ACC, I think you left out.
All those champs are in because it used to just be the conference champions, a number, and they didn't think it was necessary to be clear about it. But now it was necessary this year because of how weird the ACC was. Yeah. So now they've clearly stated that the champ's going to get in. So next year, Notre Dame from this year would have been in automatically, and Duke would have had to have been in because they won the ACC.
Okay.
I'd rather see Duke in there than the two teams that were in there this year that didn't put up a fight.
Is there anything on the prediction markets right now about whether or not they're going to go to 16 teams in the next 3 days?
That I don't know. I haven't seen any of that stuff. I've just been hoping that that's where it ends up because I agree with Alex. It's an aggressive, I think, move to go to 24. That's what FCS is doing and whatever. It's a nice bracket, but probably a little aggressive. I love 16. I love the idea of it, and I would love to see them do it quicker. What I have read is that the SEC likes the idea of 16, but the Big 10 likes 24. So, because remember, if those two can agree on stuff, it's done. They run it in terms of power, but they apparently disagree a little bit. The Big 10 wants to run it all the way up to 24 teams as quickly as they can do it.
Yeah.
Is there a way to do a 16-team bracket where certain teams still get first-round buys? I mean, the easy way is just 16, 8, 4, 2.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I kind of like that certain teams get first-round buys. I think that's a good reward, but I'm guessing if they go 16, everybody just plays round one, right?
I guess. I mean, there's a couple of different ways you could do it, right? You could have two teams are out and you play, other games. I guess you could do it that way. You could have two teams.
You could have two teams out, then have it, to the top two out, and then have it be then that will give you seven games remaining. Do it like Super Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah,
one game Friday night, 2 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and 1 on Monday. But then you have to talk to the NFL about. You probably couldn't do it that way.
Yeah, I like the idea, and this is Orange Blood's one throwing it in. I almost like the idea of no buys. Obviously, Indiana just did just fine with the buys, but those 25-day buys, 26-day buys, I don't know. I don't know if they need to keep doing that kind of stuff. So just keep an eye out. But the limit on that, I believe, is the 23rd. So that's Friday, if I'm not mistaken. As I understand it, that's the limit, their new deadline. If they're going to change it, other than what they've done already, if they're going to change to 16, it might happen on Friday.
Do you guys want them to change it?
Yes. I'd love it to go 16 because this year,
stop though, right? Just stop.
Right, stop at that point, but. To me, Alex, you go to 6. Now, I would my ultimate fix would be go to 16 and get the G6 out of it. Like the G6 needs its own bracket. I've said it for years. I'll keep saying it.
Or if there's an awesome enough G6 team to where they play their way into that kind of seeding, let them in.
Yeah, or do right, or do it just on pure seeding. I think that's the middle ground that would work. I agree. Yeah, if the committee says they're that good, then they're that good. If Jacksonville State is 8 in the country good to the committee, then let them play. But
I think Boise State and Ashton Genty's year actually deserve to be there. I mean, I know that they lost.
Yes,
right? But
they probably didn't need the seeding that they got, but they needed to be in.
Yeah, so I think that there I think you can still get in, but it shouldn't be something where you're ranked 28th or something like that, and you're automatically in just because you're the highest ranked one.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I got one question for the guys, and we'll do that after I hit you with one more of our great partners, and it is a good tasting one. It's the Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room. If you're down in the Dirty Drip or you just haven't been to the Dirty Drip in a while, get on out there. Check them out. There's great barbecue on site, too. Crimson Creek Smokehouse. It's a barbecue truck right there on site. Plus, all these great drinks. Bring those mason jars or martini glasses or both back for your discounted refills. They are open Wednesdays through Sundays, and there are your hours. Check them out, the Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room. Tell them you heard about it here on Orange Bloods Live. Maybe you go out there and have yourself a tasting very, very soon. All right, gentlemen, so before we get out of here, the fact that Indiana just won the national title, from each of you, I want you to tell me, does that say anything to you in terms of Texas? You cover Texas for a living. You guys are both fans of the Longhorns are your team, and you just watched Indiana win the national title. Does it say anything to you as a Texas follower and fan? Jason, let me start with you.
I don't think Sark will ever do it. I mentioned it on Anwar's show this morning, but transfer portal quarterback seems like the way to go. All 4 semifinal teams in the college football playoff have transfer portal quarterbacks. We've seen what it's done for Indiana. Miami's done it routinely with success. Oregon's done it routinely with success. Vanderbilt changed the face of their program. Arch Manning, I get it. You got Arch Manning. So you don't need to do anything this year, but maybe transfer portal quarterback, there's no risk there or very little risk there, whereas high school quarterbacks can flame out, even the 5-stars. So I don't think Sark ever changes that philosophy, but I just think it might be something to consider, man. It's the most important position in the sport, maybe in all of sport. If you can get a proven commodity at that position every year, maybe you get a guy for a couple years, maybe that's the way to go.
Yeah. All right, Alex.
You're not all going to be Heisman winners. I mean, you're not all going to do what Indiana did.
Right. Alex, how about you?
I mean, I'm kind of along the same lines as Jason, except I don't think it needs to be a quarterback, because I think that the lesson to be learned was a lesson that I think Sark has sort of already showed us that he's learned with the way that he handled the transfer portal this year and the way that he handled retention within the program this year of existing players. And that is, you got to spend up at the transfer portal for difference makers, and you can only be paying to develop on your roster the most elite of elite prospects if they're not out there as immediate contributors. You got to be paying the front line of your roster and the guys who are there to be developed and to be one day really good future players. They should get paid whatever. They should get their beak wet, but you can't be paying them frontline money to sit there and develop a year or two into the types of you can't be paying the Nate Kibbles of the world to sit there and develop into good offensive guards. You just can't do it. You can't pay Jamie French $1 million to not play all freshman year, and then have him expect the same amount of money the next year whenever he could be set up to step up and contribute. You can't do that anymore. So that would be my main takeaway. And I think that, as far as what I've seen from Texas, I think that they're kind of doing it. Just look at the hard discussions they had to have with these players that they didn't retain.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Congratulations to those Indiana Hoosiers and to Texas. Might want to call that right guard. He knows your area very well. Just saying. Until next week, when we hit you with a modcast Tuesday at noon, check out Orange Bloods Live, of course, for all the great content. Check out orangebloods.com for everything you're going to need as the portal closes up officially and we head towards spring football in 2026. Thank you guys for your support. Y'all have a great